started to sit for an exam this morning, and exam stress is a pretty big deal. It factors into the lives of parents. You can't kind of distance yourself from it. So right now, our P6 students are going through their PSLE, and we got a bunch of questions for you.
First
Bring
up,
it on.
yeah. First up, right? How does exam stress affect a person? How bad can it get?
Wait. Are we talking about the kid or the adult?
I was going to ask.
Okay, both.
I think it depends on how much pressure you actually put on the child. Some of them have internal pressure, like they really want to do well, they're a bit more perfectionistic, so they will be extra stressed because every point matters. And of course, for the parents, I guess it depends on what you expect from your child, right? If you're expecting your child to like score straight A's, or in this case band 1 for everything, and then for PSLE it's now changed the system, you want them to get as low score as possible, then of course the pressure's on you.
You know, I'll tell you what my stress is right now, okay?
Come on, Shehzad.
I'm not that fussed about the exam thing. I always tell my kids, you know, we don't have to get A's and all that, right? We can get low. It's fine. The stress I'm feeling is my wife's not here right now, so I'm having to do this. I don't normally, because I normally work on weekends and stuff, so I'm not around. I travel a lot, but now I'm feeling the stress that if he doesn't do well, I'm going to get blamed.
Oh, it's on you.
it's on
No
me.
wonder, that's double stress.
Yes. So I'm like, get this right. And it was upsetting me that I was feeling this upset, and then I was probably transferring that onto my son yesterday.
Yes, I think that's pretty normal as well. Like when you feel, and also I think parents talk to each other and then they compare. Like, hey, how did your child do? Hey, mine never do so well. You know, that feeling of comparison is extra pressure. We may not be so conscious of it, but that comes into play as well.
How about in the case of the child or whoever is taking the exam has zero exam stress? No motivation.
Yes.
It's okay making the careless mistakes.
Is that how your
losing
kids are?
points. Yeah.
Oh, same.
My son is just like, it's all right.
And then
Very
oftentimes the parent takes on that stress.
Yes, true.
For the kid, like,
It's true.
is this necessary? Carrying the weight of the world, the exam world on your one
I don't think
sole
they quite realize the so-called gravity of the situation.
It's true. Some of them don't feel it, and to be honest, if you ask me, I think that's a good thing.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, and also I think children studying for exams, is it really so normal to have so much stress at such an early age?
Yeah.
And as a parent, I think if we are feeling the stress, then we need to ask ourselves, like, where is this stress coming from for ourselves? And it could be that when we were growing up, we faced that stress to like do well, and therefore now as parents we say we need to take on this role. But do we really want to? Like you say, it's very weird sometimes, right? For us, if it's not natural.
I remember like what Levi was pointing to, the nonchalance with which some of our kids, if I had displayed that nonchalance as a kid, I might have got a little knock on the head. But I think we've all progressed since now. I like to think we've progressed. And even, the PM has come out, even Tharman Shanmugaratnam has also come out in the last few days. They've all said we're putting far too much on the kids. We're this overemphasis on study, whereas there's so many more things in life. I'm glad that's coming sort of from the top, but is that diffusing down? Is it a very cultural thing that we feel?
I think it's a cultural thing. I think, if you think about how we have gotten to our success so far, the education system has worked in a certain way, and it's been very academic oriented, and it's because we're putting in the hard work. You're making sure that, all the ducks in a row to get the best score as possible. And now I'm not saying suddenly, but I guess in the last 5 to 10 years, it has been shifting in another direction, but it takes time for culture to change.
Well, we're chatting with Yeo Sha-En, Singapore's first happiness scientist. Not that it should be all happy, bright and breezy all the time, but we also want to learn how to manage all these other emotions that come up, especially during exam time. Join us for a discussion on Facebook as well. We're live there, facebook.com/1FM91.3. More of Sha-En in just a bit.
1FM 91.3.
Good times, greatest.
Brightside buddy.
Hello.
Very good morning, everyone. And remember, if you chime on in, hey, send us your questions. Come on. I know a lot of our Brightside buddies are parents having to deal with exam stress, and it might just win you this $100 dining voucher from Ikigai Yakitori Bar. I think that might elevate some of your stress.
Yes, absolutely.
Will is saying, bro, I don't believe you. I think you need to ace your exams.
I think, precisely, it's like
everyone would like to, of course, but I don't. We certainly in my family we don't set those kind of goals. We just want to make sure that you do well enough so that you're not feeling. We don't want our kid to feel left behind or anything like that. But I don't want him to go A's, A pluses. I mean, that's just not how we made that decision. very early on as parents.
No, I get what you mean, and that's really separate from them not caring.
Yes.
You know, it's very different from them. So like just being so nonchalant about it. I
Yeah.
mean, we want them to like, hey, we've given you all the resources
Correct.
possible.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I mean, I know we have to make learning fun, but when I see them just not caring, my sons, I just really like.
But again, the question in their mind is, why should we care? I'm not being defiant here, but in their mind, they're like, this kind of thing need to learn, man.
Actually, that's
yeah,
true.
they're seeking relevance,
I
you
feel
see,
like
and meaning.
as a kid, we grew
Yeah.
up seeing stress in other people. Like I remember not feeling too stressed about exams until, my classmates started stressing
Yeah,
out. And then my
that's right.
mom, when the results came out, I think my mom stressed after she saw the result. What is going on here? Then I felt the fear.
Yeah, because you know what's happening? We call this the what next thinking. It's
Okay.
like, oh, you got this result. Then the mind races into, oh no, then this is going to affect this. Oh no, and then it's going to affect this. We call this like what next catastrophizing. And then we think all the way until they're adults and I cannot make it. And then we think it's because of this exam. It's illogical to think that
Of course,
way.
it doesn't come down to that.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I feel
But
like
when the
that's my-
emotions kick in, that's what happens.
That's my daily thought process. Like, it's very unnerving, actually. I think it's been ingrained in me, this way of thinking. What
Yeah.
next? What next? What next?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What are the signs that we must look out for in ourselves and also in our loved ones grappling with this sort of stress and going through the exam exertions?
Yeah, I mean, the relationship with your child should always be first and foremost. But if you find yourself shouting, controlling, manipulating, like giving lots of ultimatums, threatening, then I would say, you ask yourself, is that really what you want? Is it helping you? Is it harming you? And Lavinia
Are
is
you
looking
putting
very
your hand
stressed
up
now.
or are you trying to shade yourself from the shade?
Yes, I'm
Lavinia
trying
is like,
to
is she talking
shield-
about me?
cover
But
myself from the
I think
shame.
there's an element of that in virtually all parents, whether they like to or not. I'd like to consider myself very progressive in that, but I know I get frustrated. I
Yeah.
did certainly got annoyed yesterday with the very much talked about nonchalance.
I feel you, Shehzad. Oh boy, do I feel you.
You know what happens when my daughter is nonchalant or either one of them is?
Ooh, tell us, what do
At
you
first
do?
I will be irritated,
Okay.
because it's like, hey, I put in all this effort, hey, I'm the one who arranged that class for you.
Yeah.
And then you're so bochap,
Yes.
Yeah, but then it's like, did the daughter ask me to arrange this class for her? Actually, the answer is no. So in that sense, they didn't really make that choice, and now we're asking them to enforce
Yeah,
the choice that we made.
true.
Therefore, they feel awful about it, lah. But now we are getting angry because we want to feel a sense of like justice,
validation of
yeah,
what we did.
validation. Yeah, like I did the right thing as a parent. Now you got to behave in order for me to feel shocked. It's that kind of feeling, right?
But my
Yeah.
son, when I say, okay, you know what, you're right. You didn't ask for this. Maybe you don't need it. Maybe you don't want it. So I say, okay, I'm going to take away the lesson. Then, you have more time free up. You can handle this on your own. And then my son would say, no. I recognize the good of this lesson. Please don't take it away.
Reverse psychology.
No, I don't mean to do reverse psychology. I don't know if he's reverse psychology, me reverse psychologying on him. I don't know what's even terms of that. Yeah.
You know what will help?
What?
We call it a motivational question. We
Okay.
say, what needs to happen for you to show up to your class, whatever. What needs to happen for this work to get done? We ask them what needs to happen, because we may make assumptions about what needs to happen, but we need to ask them also what needs
What
to
if
happen.
they say I need to play soccer for like 2
Yeah,
hours? I
that
need to
sounds like
sleep
my
for an
boy.
hour. I just need a lot of food. And then there's all these other things. But
well, at least you have uncovered a need.
Ah.
You see, whether it's acceptable 3 hours of soccer, whether it's acceptable 3,000 chocolate bars, that is.
Whoa.
But then
the
find
second. But at least you
happy
get to
medium.
understand maybe they just need something to keep them going,
Okay.
some little bit of motivation, and by asking that question, you discover what that motivation. Then it becomes a conversation to continue. So, for example, they say, "I need some chocolate." Okay, so what would that chocolate do for you?
Yeah.
Right? Then they say, "Oh, it's because I just need a bit of sugar. I feel sleepy." Then maybe they have lack of sleep. Maybe they're just tired. You see, but if we assume that they're just not interested just because they present so,
Sure.
then we're only responding to what's at the tip of the
Oh,
iceberg.
that's a really, really good point.
All right, we're going to jump back live on air. Join us there.
Meets girl and waiting for a star to fall. Also, like how I'm waiting for a star to fall on my son's exam papers. But hey, Brightside buddies, if you chime on in for the interview right now with Sha-En as we talk about dealing with exam stress, it might just win you a $100 dining voucher from Ikigai Yakitori Bar.
This is, of course, a very stressful time for both parents and kids, Sha-En. So tell us, how can we deal with exam stress without losing our minds as parents?
Good question. Yeah, I think we want to have some perspective on this exam. It often feels like it's the only thing that matters. But if we pull back and realize that, hey, there's also other aspects to their life that matter at this point in time. You know, the P5, P6, my daughter went through it a couple of years ago, and she did tell me that she's like, Mom, my life is on repeat every day. I go to school, I study, I do practice paper. I come back, I study, I do practice paper. I go to sleep. And I felt really bad for her. I mean, do I want her life to be like that?
Quite monotonous.
It's very monotonous.
Yeah.
And it was during COVID as well.
You know
Right.
what's very interesting, because Alun is chiming in on Facebook, and he says, for working people, does every day feel like an exam to you as well?
There
To
is
a
a certain
certain
monotony,
extent.
isn't it? In life
even as
anyway.
adults.
Yeah.
So are we training our kids?
I mean, some people would argue, right, that that's how the training starts.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I felt like during those 2 years when my daughter was going through 5 and 6 that I would want to give her a variety of experience, like whether it's take a break to go for a walk. I mean, with restrictions, it was even harder. Or like just do something silly, right? On the way here, I was listening to the radio. You guys, what a fun
What
things
do you do with
do.
the kids?
Yeah,
Yes.
so those are the times where you stretch your creativity and your imagination and give them a break. Because
Do you like tufting?
no,
What?
weaving.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've
but-
heard about what that is.
right. I mean, there are.
Do I
there
like
are,
it?
it takes your mind off things, right?
True,
right?
true,
Just
true.
just to get to take it away from
Yeah.
maybe the narrow focus that they normally
Exactly,
have.
yeah.
Right.
So decompressing, right? So stress comes on, and when stress is too much, then we get to the point of overwhelm. And can you actually study or in that sense work well when there's too much? It's almost like the cup has overrun, right?
Yeah.
And so now we need to kind of calibrate and find something to decompress, whatever that means. A walk, talking to someone, tufting. And for me, like sometimes it's just rolling around the bed with my daughter, just doing silly things to
Yes.
allow the energy to leave your system, Otherwise, it's just going to be so highly strung, and we wonder why kids so stressed.
Talking,
Sorry.
yeah, I was just going to say, like, let's talk about post exams now, right? The exams are done. Is it really over when the exam is over? Because some parents are now already thinking ahead.
Yeah.
But how do we deal with, like, for me, it is a relief, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that necessarily applies to everyone else. They're probably thinking about the next exam and the one after that. How do we just, as you say, is it about decompressing? It's just letting it go. It's done now, right? They can enjoy the holiday.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they should. And one thing I've noticed is that once the exam is done, most of the kids become very aimless. We as a parent feel relief, but the kid is almost aimless. Of course, they're happy it's done.
interesting.
But then it's like, hey, what do we do with our
No
life
mission,
now?
no purpose now.
Yeah, the whole purpose was this exam. And
Yeah.
honestly, I think there could be so much more for them to explore in the months or the weeks after. It's like, what are you excited about? What would you like to contribute to? What makes you, what is your interest? But many of them may not even be able to answer these questions because for almost 2 years, the only thing they're supposed to be interested about is getting those A's, right?
I think it's a really good point because we always think about, pre-exam, during the exam. We forget about post-exam because we're just happy to let go, right? So that's really
Yeah.
good. I need to make sure that my kids don't go around aimless after such a high. You know what I mean? I don't know if you call that a high.
What a high that is.
So what do you suggest, how can we support our loved ones through such a time? Whoever's
Yeah.
undergoing it could be a spouse even, taking an exam. It could be our kids. What do you suggest?
I mean, I know of parents who take 6 months off to support their kids because they find
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
like work stress plus exam stress.
That's what Brightside Buddy is saying as well. He knows
Yeah.
of a colleague who took 4 months off to help a child with
Holy
PSLE.
moly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think we just want to be there. I remember during those times, all I said was I don't need to add more to her stress. What I want to do is just be present. Yeah, and being present means that if there's something that she wants to talk about, if there's something that she wants to vent about, or like there's this sum that she cannot do, and even though I can't solve the math problem, I confess, but at least I can say, hey, let me go and see what resources I can find for you. And I think that helps because then they'll know they're not alone in this process. Because actually taking the exam when you're in the exam hall, you're alone, right? You
Yeah.
are the one doing it. But if they know that, hey, at home when I'm revising, there's someone who's saying like, it's okay, just take your time and you take a break if you need to. I think that gives them some reassurance that I think I can get through this.
Oh, that's definitely something very practical that all of us can do. But some people don't have that luxury of taking so much time off.
True.
So
And it could be little messages like we communicate through emojis. And so, I mean, sometimes I'm at work doing a talk, right? And then I will send her an emoji. Yeah, and then we just exchange emojis and we send words of encouragement. Or sometimes I'll go old school and drop her a post-it in the morning. Yes, I understand, working
that.
parents are very busy, but we can find those little moments of connection.
I love
and
that.
connection brings positive energy.
Yeah.
That is so
Yeah.
practical, so useful. Thank you so much, Sha-En, for being here with us and calming us all down. Our
And of
emotional
course, deep
support
breaths,
person.
right? Lots of deep breaths.
Breathing, yes. Regulate your nervous system. All right, to find out more about how you can deal with exam stress, rewatch this video on facebook.com/1FM91.3. Thank you so much, our happiness scientist, Yeo Sha-En.
You're welcome.
All right, Sha-En, so you yourself deal with this exam stress. I'm sure you've been through several rounds. How can adults best deal with it?
You know, I remember in our chat group in the parents, everyone was like, oh my gosh, it's coming. And I just asked myself, you know, is this something I want to really place 100% emphasis on for me and my daughter? And I think sometimes just pausing to ask ourselves some of these clarifying questions can help us come back to what we value. And we all value different things. And there's no judgment if you really value your academic results for your child, because we've all come from different places.
Yeah.
But we also want to ask ourselves, how is it affecting and impacting us? And I realized that if I get too high strung, then she gets very high strung. Right?
Yes.
Because
and
kids
therefore,
watch, they observe.
They watch,
Yeah.
They feel your energy and things like that. So I realized that if I'm calm, then she's calm, she feels assured. And so that's something that we can check in with ourselves whenever we feel that maybe we're pushing too hard.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they're not getting an outlet. Yeah.
I wish I could say that about my son. The positive feelings that I have he will feed on that. But also when I'm high strung, right, he's just totally like...
The opposite
Yeah,
stuff.
he washes off him. That's a superpower.
Yeah.
You
I
don't
would
feel
agree
it.
with
He's
that. Yeah.
impenetrable. Yes.
You know, but I would say that they may look that way, but there could be stuff underneath. And sometimes
Maybe.
they become acclimatized not to show it to you, because if they do,
I think-
then you'll be like, you okay not? Are you alright not? And then they're like, oh, if I do that, I'm going to get more of that, which I
Right,
maybe
right. I
don't
don't
want.
want.
I'm not saying that's 100%,
okay,
but
okay.
sometimes it could have that impact.
Yeah.
And therefore they said, I'll just chill,
Yeah.
because then I won't get more of that. But who knows what's happening inside, right?
That's true. Sometimes that chilling, as I said, it's a fine line between chilling and nonchalance, right?
True.
And
Ah.
that's what gets me. It's
Oh,
not
oh,
it's
oh.
not necessarily the marks, it's the lack of interest or the lack of caring. That's what I have to, as you say, sometimes we are transferring onto the kid what we think should be the response, right?
But
now
also
you have
we've
this-
got to ask, right, where does this apathy or lack of caring come from? Is
Right.
it that they're not interested? Is it that they really don't care? In which case, then what is it that makes them not care?
Yeah.
You have
I
that
think-
power
yeah.
question she taught you
Yes.
just now.
Yeah,
What will motivate you to do this?
yeah. What needs to happen for you
For
to,
you to do
to
this.
care,
I'm
to
always
be
scared.
interested?
Right.
You know,
I'm
and
scared
sometimes
to ask my
the
son.
answers are very surprising. Honestly, if you
Yeah.
ask,
So let
sometimes
them,
we dare not ask. I think maybe.
No,
I
I,
do
no,
get
I think you're
asking.
right. I think you're
Right.
right. I think
Because-
you're definitely right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, everything's worth a try. I mean, I have tried it. Like, say, okay, what would you like to do, you know, to get you going? And he'd be like, yeah, let's go and play for an hour. I was like, okay. And after 1 hour, like, he's forgotten. But, you know, everything's worth a try. I want to better that situation with my son as well. So thank you for all that you shared here
you're
today.
welcome.
Remember, Brightside Buddies, you can check out her website, happinessscientists.com, or find them on Instagram at Happiness Scientists, or even her own Instagram, Sha-En Yeo.
Thanks, Sha-En.
You're welcome.
All the best with the major exam of life.
Same tips apply. Take deep breaths.
Good point.
Good times. Greatest hits. 1FM 91.3.